A series of draws were held to determine the order in which the candidates would deliver their opening and closing statements, as well as respond to questions from the audience. And our first question comes from Mary Ellen Baker. You have the floor. Ask your question.
How would you reform the administration of Montreal if you were elected?
You can handle that first, Mr. Coderre.
Well, first of all, of course, we need transparency, and it's tolerance zero vis-à-vis the corruption.
Madame Joly.
Your question is the question, the most important question, because the biggest problem of Montreal is corruption. And we still have a corruption problem in Montreal. That being said, how do we solve it? By making sure that there's transparency. But more than what Mr. Coderre is saying, how can you change a system while the most important problem in that system is that only certain people have access to information, and information is power. So we do like Michael Bloomberg did in New York. We make sure that all the information that the city has becomes public.
Mr. Côté.
Okay, thank you. Corruption does not take hold well in well-managed organization. So the best defense against corruption is a well-managed organization. And City Hall now is very badly organized. We have first to introduce a lot more check and balance that they have now. Eliminate the concentration of power in the hand of the few. We have to eliminate the bureaucratic silos at City Hall, and there's a lot of it.
Thank you. Now, if you allow me, candidates, I have one follow-up question that sort of begs to be asked. You have all referred to your teams, your parties, if you will, your political affiliations. Most of us who are paying attention to the Charbonneau inquiry discovered that if there was any malfeasance going on, it wasn't being done by elected officials, it was being done by bureaucrats, people who were working within the system at City Hall. And anyone, frankly, whoever speaks up first, that's fine, but how can you ensure so vast a pool of personnel is going to be as honest as you'd like them to be?
Mr. Mini, it's not true that the corruption began at the civil servants level, beginning with the leader of the executive committee, Mr. Zampino, and all the other elected people, members of Union Montreal surrounding him, chose to close their eyes, to shut their mouth. And if the head of the fish is fresh, the whole fish will be fresh. I don't know if this applies in English as an expression. But we are used to say that.
I hear it.
We are used to say that in French.
Okay.
Sorry.
we get the idea. We'll just leave the metaphor. We'll leave the metaphor there. It's time for our second question on the issue of governance, and it comes from Richard Nair of Pierrefonds. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
With all the promises that you've made over the last month, I want to know what each of you plan to do in the first 100 days of office.
Mr. Coderre.
Well, thank you. First of all, I'm going to change the locks because it seems that there's a lot of keys that a lot of people possessed. Secondly, for sure, what I'm going to do, I'm going to meet the employees because it's important to send them a message that they are part of the solution. And I need them, we need them, to make sure that we will make this city flourish again.
There's a lot of job to do at the administrative level. And for this job, I will hire Mr. Côté.
Okay, thank you very much. All right.
You're taking my idea.
Luke Wang, he lives in the Sud-West. Please, you have the floor.
Good evening. If you elected mayor, instead of increasing taxes, increasing fees, reducing services, what you can do to generate more revenue? If you have the problem that, like the previous administration, that either is a big C or STM and is diring the pension problem as a report this morning, what are you going to do? Thank you.
Thank you.
So how do you increase revenues without increasing taxes and fees or reducing services? And we will start with Mr. Côté.
In the short run, we cannot increase revenue that rapidly. So we have to tighten our belt. There's a as Mr. Bergeron, we're starting with a budget crisis probably in January, February. There has been no CEO in this shop for over 5, 6, 7 years, maybe 10 years. Nobody really in charge of the purse string. So all the members of the executive committee are pushing for their own pet project. We have to put discipline there. And then gradually there will be a margin, a budgetary margin freeing up.
The reality is, Montreal is a property tax junkie. 70% of our revenues come from property tax. When you compare to other big cities, Toronto is 39%, and in the US, it's big major cities, it's around 18%. It's time that Montreal gets a special status from Quebec.
Montreal is lagging behind many other North American cities when it comes to the economy. How would you improve the economic vitality of Montreal?
There's a real economic drama for Montreal, and this drama has lasted for the last 25 years. It's the massive exodus of middle classes, and specifically young families, to the surrounding suburbs. Year after year, in the last 12 years, we lost 22,000 people. That means between 6,000 and 8,000 young families. And the result of that is that $2.5 billion a year are invested by Montrealers outside of Montreal. By saying that we want to keep families, that it's a priority for Projet Montréal. It's not only because it is sharp, it's nice. It's also the main economic decision that we can have. And to have these people accepting to live on the island of Montreal, we need to increase the level of the transit system, the whole system, the metro, the tramway, the BRT that Madame Joly loves so much, the buses, the taxi, all these things.
Two things that we have to do also. I want to repatriate the old port of Montreal so it can be under Montreal Authority, and I'd like to create a cruise ship port and a fair exposition with a duty-free area, because we have about 5 to 6 million tourists who's going there.
Investors and private entrepreneurs will be the one rebuilding the economy. If we don't disrupt them with one of our biggest problems of Montreal, our recurring battle on nationalism and on language. We have to manage our linguistic duality. We have to live with it and manage it, and the mayor has an important leadership role in that regard. I intend to do that, and then this city will be built on creativity and knowledge. Thank you.
Thank you. We proceed to the next topic of tonight's debate, relations with the rest of the Montreal region and Quebec, something that all of you have touched on slightly. It was perhaps the single most posed question by our readers and listeners. I will take a version from Joe Bontemps, which says, and it's a very simple question, and we're going to start with you, Mr. Coderre. Would you be in favor of promoting a special status for Montreal, or the island of Montreal, as a distinct society within the province of Quebec? Mr. Coderre.
Well, in politics for so many times, I don't want to bring back another national question again, because special status means a lot of things. What we need to do, maybe like in Ontario with the status of Toronto, I think that's good. But we have to do it for the right reason. We need to have more revenues. We have to compare ourselves with the biggest cities. You know, you don't define the world by continent or by countries anymore. It's by cities. By the next 20 years, we will have over 70% of the overall world population who will live in cities. So we have to do something about it. We receive 15% of all our newcomers. So there's issues with integration. We need to work in a better way, like in the CUM in the past, regarding issues with water, security and all that. So we have to manage our density. So we need, clearly, Quebec needs to respect us in a better way. So I know, of course, I know Quebec, I know that it's bureaucracy, and no matter which party in the last 20, 30 years, we had some issues with the way that...
Well, it's always one of two, Mr. Coderre, and you're out of time. It's always one of two parties, so thank you.
Okay.
Madame Joly.
I'll be back.
I've talked about special. That's Arnold Schwarzenegger. Eh?
Yeah.
I think we need to relaunch a dialogue between regions in Quebec and Montreal. I think that Quebecers, Québécois need to understand the fact that when Montreal is suffering, the entire Quebec is suffering, and that we're the economic locomotive of Quebec. And within the first year of my mandate, I'll make sure to go and meet with people throughout Quebec to let them know, to talk about Montreal, in order also to get that special status in terms of revenues.
We have to be realistic. We have to play our hand at the right moment. I can tell you now, going to Quebec City to ask for special status will not work. You won't get it. You won't get your 0.5% of the Quebec tax is totally politically impossible. I mean, we can say all kinds of things. We can have pie in the sky. When I was young, the Créditistes were here. They were promising to send everybody some money. But at the end of the day, we have to be realistic. We won't get a special status in the next 4 years. We first have to clean up our house. We have enough problem. We can just simply patching on the island of Montreal, relation with the 12 cities which are not part of the city of Montreal would be a big advantage. Let's build alliance not on talk but on reality.
Thank you, Mr. Côté. Mr. Bergeron.
Mr. Mini, to answer your question, as the mayor of Montreal, I will defend Montrealers and Montrealers only. In the last 12 years with the Union Montreal administration, Montrealers were not defended. Having said that, we have too many structures. We have the structures of a country of $60 to $80 million because we have looked what were the structure in France and Germany, and we say that will be a good idea to have a CMM. And the CMM was used by the government to hide the fact that it don't take its responsibilities regarding to the future of Montreal.
And I thank you, Mr. Bergeron. I'm sorry, we're out of time.
Already 1 minute?
Already 1 minute?
So fast.
It goes, well, you're having fun. That's why it's going so fast. I have to tell you, candidates, with your permission, I'm going to go to our next question because it is so linked to what you're talking about right now, and I want you to have more time to debate this amongst yourselves because clearly a lot of people are interested in what you have to say. So we're going to go to our next question. It comes from Lynn Martin, who grew up at NDG and is now a Pierrefonds resident. Welcome.
Hi.
You have the floor.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening.
Do you think the mayor of Montreal, in his or her relations with the government of Quebec, should be taking a stronger stand when it comes to language legislation that restricts English? And what do you think of the language situation now in Montreal?
And that question goes first to Madame Joly.
I think that we should be proud of our cultural uniqueness. And I think we should be proud that our population is the highest, has the highest level of bilingualism in North America. That being said, I know I'll have to choose my battles. And the biggest battle of Montreal right now is corruption. I won't tell you things I won't tell you promises I won't be able to keep. And that's why I want to make sure that my priorities are well understood and that I'll fight for it. And when Mr. Côté was talking about special status and the fact that he doesn't believe that we can get 0.5% of the QST, my generation won't accept the fact that we can get more from Montreal.
And I thank you, Madame Joly.
We are very badly served when Quebec comes in very clumsily and intervene. We have to be ahead of the curve, and that's what I intend to do. We also have to improve significantly the representativeness of city employment, the City of Montreal employment. And we've said in our program, and even Mrs. Harel signed on that we'll have an affirmative action program to get the employment in line with the demographic reality of Montreal, the socio-demographic reality of Montreal.
Thank you, Mr. Côté.
This is all in writing, all in writing.
Thank you. Mr. Bergeron.
My opinion on this topic is that we have reached a very good balance between languages in Montreal. I don't see such a big problem there. If an English
let him finish, please.
Yeah, you know, I knew that you will maybe oppose to what I will say. If an English-speaking person wants to be served in English, he can be served anywhere in any borough of Montreal, and the same is true. Yeah,
please.
You just have to ask, and you will be where. The city has to serve you in English if you want to be served in English, even in Mercier-Hochelaga-Maisonneuve, where Madame Mayoral is living. And it
Okay,
is your
folks,
right.
let him finish.
It is your right. It is your right. And French community has the same right. And you know, if the government comes each 2 years or each 4 years and put the oil on the fire on this topic, we know that it is a very delicate topic. I really appreciate the balance we have right now.
And
I
we'll have to leave it there.
appreciate the fact that the new generation of Montreal are perfectly bilingual.
All right, Mr. Bergeron.
Beginning by my 2 children.
Thank you.
That you
Mr.
were saying that you're
Coderre.
dealing with me.
Yeah.
All right.
No, my 2 children comes before you.
S'il vous plaît. The name of the game here is respect. The name of the game is rights. So it's not a matter of choosing our battle, it's a matter of do we feel that everybody feel like first-class citizen. The role of a mayor is to make sure that their people are happy. So we have to cut the fact, now, you know, City Hall is not a parliament. So maybe we'll save 2 hours of motions right there. But what we need to show is that we are an administration. And the role of an administration is to provide services. So we need to find a way that the reality are the facts. So my role, like Marcel said, my role is to make sure that we provide those services. We need to show to everybody that this is Montreal. And the way that we'll say this is Montreal is by the employment policy, it's by the housing policy, and it's by the services policy. So
okay.
I'm a Francophone, I'm a proud Francophone, but I'm a proud Montrealer, and I believe that we need to reflect the reality of Montreal. Yeah. That's my job, and that's what I'm going to do.
And I thank you, Mr. Coderre. Clearly, candidates, you've noticed that this room has some rather definite opinions on what we've just been talking about. We now come to the part of our debate which we have labeled character. We got a lot of questions similar to this one, and I'm very sorry, we didn't get a name on this question, but it sums up a lot of attitude that we found in many of the questions about where this city is going. So I will ask it to you on this person's behalf, but I think it speaks for itself. The question is, I am an ex-Montrealer. I found good, cleaner, safer, cheaper living in the suburbs. Sell me Montreal, so I'll move back to the city. You take the first question, Mr. Côté.
This is all about urban life. It's about variety, it's about diversity, it's about having the benefit of living together. I live downtown, and I enjoy fully the benefit of downtown. Now, some people might live in what I will call the middle belt, you know, NDG being one, or this place being one, and they enjoy close proximity to downtown. There's a simple rule in geography: the further away you are from the center of the town, the cheaper the land is, and usually the cheaper the rent is. But that's the price to pay to have a very rich life.
Thank you, Mr. Côté. Mr. Bergeron.
This question is about quality of life in Montreal at an affordable price for everybody, especially young families. And the answer is the whole program of Projet Montréal. And it is, for instance, what we did in Rosemont-la-Petite-Patrie and the Plateau Montréal as an administration in the last 4 years. A greener city, a safer city, a most beautiful city, a city that keeps everybody, that confirms the right to everybody to stay in the city. For instance, what we did with artists to protect the
And we thank you, Mr. Bergeron.
Well, it's all about, and I agree with that, the quality of life. Using all that technology, having in real time what's the true situation, make sure that we're using also those devices to have a better sustainable development, a better work with the owners and the promoters to make sure that we have affordable housing, that we're also thinking about the students because we have 5,000 unit for 200,000 students, so we have an issue there. The beauty of our metropolis, it's all that flavor, all those smells, all those beauty, all that culture in different areas.
It's all
and
good.
I think that
You're on the same wavelength as Mr. Bergeron.
Sure.
You guys obviously are writing the.
But it's not like the plateau because sometimes we have some problem with the signs. That's another issue.
Madame Joly.
Don't speak against the plateau.
Okay. Save it for later. Madame
Joly.
Joly.
In North America.
Under our administration, within the next 2 mandates, we'll make sure that Montreal is the best place to live in the world. How we'll do that? We'll have, first of all, a BRT of 130 kilometers. We'll make sure that throughout the 19 boroughs of Montreal, we have access to a surface metro, so a new collective transport. More than that, because there's still places in Montreal where there's still that haven't been densified yet. Well, we'll create new neighborhoods, and in these neighborhoods, families will come and be able to reside in a neighborhood that is adapted to their needs.
All of you have spent this campaign talking about what you want to do for Montreal, how you want to better this city and life for the people living in it. But the reality is, even though the odds are pretty good that somebody on this stage tonight is going to be the mayor of Montreal, you're also going to be the 4th mayor of Montreal we've had in a little over a year. One mayor resigned after allegations before the Charbonneau inquiry. Another mayor was arrested. The 3rd mayor is essentially an interim position. He expressed no interest in running for the job. We have no choice every year to send you $5 billion of our tax dollars. We do have a choice over who we give our trust to. And so our question is very, very simple. Why should we trust you, Mr. Bergeron?
You should trust me because I spent my whole life dedicated to the future of Montreal. As a teacher of urban planning, as a writer of politics for the government, and in the last 10 years and 8 years as an elected person, as a member of the City Council, unfortunately in the opposition. You should have confidence in me because I did not decide 4 months ago, I want to be mayor and to form a political party, what is available around me. We took 10 years to build a political party with perfect integrity. The integrity is in the DNA of our party. You may have confidence in us because we have managed 2 boroughs and we manage them so well, especially regarding to the budget, to the finance. And just look, just go on the plateau around the Laurier School at the exit Laurier of Metro Laurier, and just look what we did there, and
Thank you, Mr. Bergeron.
You will understand that you can trust us.
Mr. Coderre.
With me, what you see is what you get.
Yeah, that is a problem.
I'm probably one of the most public figure in Quebec for the last 20 years because this is my vocation. I love people. I love to serve people. We have to be humble, but I had the privilege to be a member of Parliament for the last 16 years. I've been fighting for Montreal cause. I've been serving my country. I've been there when it was the time. I play a role after 9/11 as a Minister of Immigration and Citizenship. I was a Minister of Sports. I was also in charge of Francophonie. So, and I'm very, very close to people because that's what I want to do. My DNA is people, to serve people. I'm not there for a party, and I'm going to be there for you like I've been there all my life.
Thank you, Mr. Coderre. Madame Joly.
I don't have political experience, and I'm very proud of it. I'm a lawyer, and I'm also ran a business. And in all the projects I've managed, it was always clear that I was able to gather a fantastic team.
Montreal has given a lot to me, and I would be honored to give some of it back. I have 40 years of experience with large organizations. So I believe I can be trusted, but ultimately it's your decision, and I'll respect it.
And we thank you very much, Mr. Côté. Ladies and gentlemen, we now reach the point where the candidates have been taking questions from us. Now they're going to be taking questions from each other.
My question is to Marcel, that I respect. I believe that, we have a few files that we are in agreement together. We are all there for the right reason. But I was annoyed by one of your main coalition partner, Madame Montreal. We can't talk about...
Okay, please. You're taking his time.
You're eating my time, please. We want all to defend the language. We want all to defend the citizen. But I was truly annoyed, and I think it's unacceptable to have a language cop in the city hall for your future executive committee. I would give you my time so you can explain what you want to do with that, because I'm totally against it.
There's two parts to you.
Hang on.
There's two parts to your question. First, Madame Montreal, Montreal has to be run by all Montrealers, and half of this island is Péquiste, the other half is Liberal. The city government, at the city level, that doesn't matter. We have to get everybody in the tent. That's the only way we can run the city properly. And yes, I have Madame Montreal, but I have also Marvin Rotran or Russell Copperman, who was an MLA on the other side. That's the number one question. On the language cop issue, there's no language cop. There'll be somebody in charge of looking after the language issue. We cannot let the Quebec government be the only actor on this file. We have to actively manage it.
Madame Joly, your turn to ask a question. Quiet, please.
Mr. Meny, I'll ask the question to my three opponents at the same time. But I'm convinced they can answer.
And they each get to like 20 seconds, so
Max.
There you go.
Well, they can say yes or no.
Okay.
As party leaders, will you commit to putting aside party discipline and allow all city councillors of your team to support my administration?
We'll start with you, Mr. Côté.
Well, this is a biased question, and I don't buy it, but the Coalition Montreal is for free vote. Free vote exists in all North American cities but Quebec. Political parties are electoral machine, period. The rest of the time, councillors are ready to, can vote the way they want, and that's the way Coalition Montreal will be.
And we'll give it to Mr. Coderre.
First of all, it's my 10th consecutive election, and I think that the first thing is to respect people's judgment. So I will see what will be the result, and then if you want to work with me to be my advisor, or if you want to go in federal politics, I can give you some tips.
Mr. Bergeron.
It's not a second choice,
Mr. Bergeron.
Not for me.
Yeah, my question will be for Mr. Côté.
No, hang on, no, just to reply. No. I still need a reply from Madame Joly. You've got 20 seconds.
Oh, sorry, I did not follow the discussion.
No.
That's a good answer, Richard. That's a good answer.
I think that is a trap, and I don't want to fall in a trap.
Okay, we'll leave it there. Thank you. Now, Mr. Côté, your turn to ask a question.
My question will be for Madame Joly. For the past 5 years, you have worked for a public relations firm, Con Wolf, as the head of their small Montreal operation. What experience, and this is the longest job you ever had, what experience have you gained in this job that could be used in kickstarting the economy, regain investor confidence, and contribute to bring back the thousands of young Montrealers who have left the city in the past 10 to 20 years?
I'm very happy you asked the question, Mr. Côté, because as in being in charge of one of the most family business companies, I was able to triple the revenues, and not only that, but also double the profitability. So I'm very happy, and that within 24 months. So you talk to Andrew Molson, he'll tell you he was very happy.
My question will be for Mr. Côté again. Mr. Côté, after a long and successful business career, you decided to run for public office. I, like many, applaud your desire to serve the public good. And so, Mr. Côté, what I don't understand is why you have chosen to run such a negative campaign. This is my third election, and your campaign is the nastiest I have seen. Monsieur Côté, I can't believe all of this was your idea. Who decided to be so negative? Was it Louise Arel, your co-campaign director?
Okay,
Your response?
I'm surprised by your statement. To be honest, I tend not to accuse people or talk about my opponent. I think we should all sell ourselves, and I trust the good judgment of the population. There was a mistake made in my campaign, and I took full responsibility. You know, I turned the page. People could see how I can manage a mistake or manage under pressure. I think I did well. But Mr. Bergeron, I'm surprised for you to think that I've run a negative
only one
campaign.
mistake, many of them.
It is for the population to
judge.
To judge, and I'll let it stand on that.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, candidates. Candidates, I thank you. I wish you all the best of luck. And ladies and gentlemen, if I do say so myself, this evening was a success. And if it was thanks to all of you. So now give yourselves a hand. I really appreciate it. Good for you.